crafted, all natural, and preservative-free with uncompromising standards. Cooked gently in small batches to create velvety textures and layers of flavor like no other caramel you've ever experienced. It is our sincere hope that you enjoy each Seuss caramel as much as we enjoy making it for you. I'm Tammy Fahey, and I never tire of hearing how much people enjoy my caramels. Please visit SeussCaramel.com to place your order and to see a listing of stores that carry our amazing caramels.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Welcome to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman, a leading expert in professional coaching, clinical hypnosis, and energy clearing. Lois is an award-winning author of Chronicles of Hope. She has decades of experience in advanced hypnosis techniques, has conducted highly effective success coaching programs that have helped clients discover ways to achieve success, empower themselves, their families, as well as holistic practitioners to expand their practices. Get ready to be empowered with your host, Lois Herman.
Hello and welcome to Inspiring Hope. I'm your host, Lois Herman, and I'm here to inspire you with positive messages and celebrate people who are making a difference in our world. When we focus our thoughts and energies on truth, honesty, and integrity, we create powerful shifts that cause us to be more positive and peaceful. As we lift our energy, we empower everyone around us. If we each do what we can to make small shifts in awareness, we create ripples of hope. Join us as catalysts for positive change for our families, our communities, and our world at large. I hope you are inspired by today's show. And I want to ask a question. How are you surviving this new year? We thought 2020 was a challenge. Now 2021 is starting with some real eye-opening confusion, along with some extreme division. We are at the greatest divide in our country's recent history, reminiscent of the Civil War. Family against family, friend against friend. Why is this so? We'll be talking about being a survivor in today's show, especially rising above great challenges as we pray for our country and the people to awaken to the path of truth and light. Many are seeing with clear eyes the depths of deception, corruption, and lack of integrity for many who are in control of our country's information. There are also many who are working tirelessly to reclaim America for the people at this critical juncture in history. In today's show, we'll discuss important survival skills that are needed to stand up for what is right and true in our world. As survivors, we must help people come together in awareness to create a world of peace in 2021. Being open to the great unseen, the awakened are seeing with new eyes, beyond the shadow of darkness into the light of true reality, and holding fast to the belief we can create a new era of peace through honesty and integrity. My guest today, Cindy Young, shares several incredible survivor stories that will intrigue, inspire, and shock you. You'll hear how her strength and determination guided her to an expanded awareness. She'll share insights on preparing for this new age of awakening in spite of extreme challenges. You will also hear factual information from this incredibly trustworthy spiritual warrior as to what really happened inside the Capitol building on January 6th. She was there and is willing to share. Please help us get these messages out to the world by liking and sharing our videos and subscribing to our YouTube channel. You can find dozens of videos and blogs at loisherman.com or chroniclesofhope.net. And you are listening to WSMN 1590 AM and 95.3 FM. In this time of turmoil among our people over confusion and misperception, let us take a moment to focus on what really matters: our health, our family, our homes, our jobs, and our freedom. Many are so busy with life, work, and raising families that they just turn on the 6 o'clock news to tune into the events of the day. I did this for most of my life. Was too busy to pay really too much attention. I trusted my government to take care of my needs and relied on the news to tell me what I needed to know. So I listened to the nightly news to gather information on what was going on around the world. This used to be true. Now, as we listen to what we think is going on, we don't really realize that we are being fed false information on so many levels. We are being led to believe what people in power want the minions to believe. If I hadn't seen this for myself, I wouldn't believe it either. The year 2020 opened my eyes, awakened me to the truth. It started with being very sick by a strange virus that was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. I was in bed for weeks and took months to recover from this very strange respiratory illness. While recovering, I was also in the middle of working on completing Chronicles of Hope, Book 2, where I had been given trusted messages to share from wise guides of the collective who were very concerned about what was going on in our world. I started to notice how what these guides were saying was happening right now, before my eyes. They encouraged me to ask questions, and I started to delve deeper into the mystery, investigating the truth, and saw with my own eyes horrible things going on behind the grand illusion of what we are being told. Having been a survivor of many challenges in my life, I've learned to trust my intuition and use discernment about what to believe. When I pay attention and listen to what my heart is telling me, I come to know the truth. So how can we get people to wake up and look beyond the illusion of what is being told? The guides emphatically tell us that the world we know it is about to come to an end, unless we, the people, do something to change it. Jesus told me that the earth's tipping point is coming faster than the collective had predicted. He said, "A turning point is coming to the earth. We would not be here speaking with you if we did not believe you have the ability to carry out the task we hope you will carry out." It is the same message I gave 2,000 years ago. That message has been distorted through time and distorted through people. We must get people to think for themselves. You're listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman at WSMN 1590 AM and 95.3 FM. The Goddess Aurora told me, "All that is certain is that the world as we know it is heading to an end. The path that humanity is currently on, if it makes no changes, will invariably lead to its own end. Civilization will fall first. Civilization is very fragile, especially on Earth. Humanity as a species will most likely survive, but it is hard to see the future." She went on to say, "If you examine civilization today, you will see the strong still dominate. Except the definition of strong has changed. It is no longer the biggest and the physically strongest. Those who have managed to gather more than they need are the modern civilization's definition of strong. Considering most of the resources of the world are controlled by a very small handful of people, what you have is not a stable civilization." Aurora was very concerned that there is so much hate and disregard for human life and the life of our planet. She encourages us to get beyond our hatred and choose a path of acceptance, tolerance, and peace. Yet, why does it seem we're being divisively divided by our media, creating separation from those who are unable or unwilling to see both sides? Universal Energy told us, people do not know why they hate, and any convenient target is suitable for the subject of their hatred. Usually, the focus of someone's hatred is undeserving of it. It is the isolation that Terrans feel that causes the hatred. Hate comes from isolation, from separation, and from the thought that Terrans are alone. Hate is a symptom, a cause. It in turn becomes a cause for the actions that occur. Much hatred is based on the belief of difference, that another individual is deserving of hatred because they believe differently. Civilization has forgotten that all humans are humans. You are one species. The fact that you grew up in a different place and your ancestors come from a different continent does not make you any less related. Ask yourself, what is the real reason behind why we are being driven into isolation and separation? What is really going on? He goes on to say, with true communication comes the realization that differences are not so great between us, and our hatred thus dissipates. By breaking down the barriers between individuals, by allowing our minds to share information directly, by striving toward the common consciousness, it would be helpful for each individual to see that people around them are not so very different. Breaking down the barriers between individuals, allowing them to experience each other's thoughts and feelings, that is the cure. Someone has to be the first to be willing to drop the barriers isolating themselves from another. Yet, why is communication now being blocked? People are censored, voices silenced, and messages distorted. What is the real motive behind the media taking control and blocking the truth from being shared? How can the voice of our president be silenced, and why has he been painted the way he has? Ask yourself, what is really going on? Where is our freedom of speech? Investigate for yourself before you cast judgment and before it's too late. Thousands, if not millions of people gathered peacefully in D.C. this past week in an attempt to have their voices heard. Suddenly, this amazing event took a strange and terrible turn. What really happened, and why? Our Mother Gaia said that humans seem to have lost the ability to hear her, and they refuse to listen to each other. This is the most important piece of information that can help humanity. We must reconnect with the spirit of our earth. We must show respect for her and each other. For those who are awake and aware, we know that the connection with Mother Gaia and all living things is vitally important. We understand how critical it is that we pay close attention to what is really going on around us. When will we learn to discern for ourselves what the truth is and come together for what is right and just? As we look beyond the illusion, we can feel those who are doing good for others, those who are coming from the heart, and we are compelled to support them on this important mission to save humanity. You are listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman at WSMN 1590, 95.3, and you can find me at loisherman.com or chroniclesofhope.net. Today, my guest is a fascinating woman with several amazing stories of survival. A shamanic practitioner, an owner of a metaphysical healing center, Cindy Young is here today to share her survivor's view of the Great Awakening and tell us how being a survivor and the rebel that she is helped her to adopt the attitude, what doesn't kill me makes me stronger. Cindy, hi, are you here today?
Good morning, Lois.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You have several amazing stories to tell, and one will completely surprise our listeners. So will you please start by telling us the amazing story of what happened to you as a baby? Tell us your history.
Okay, well, I was born in 1956, and I grew up on Nantucket Island. And in 1958, I was flying home from from LaGuardia, New York, with my mother. And we were coming into Nantucket, and we were in a plane crash where I lost my mother. So that was like my introduction to the world.
Wow.
Kind of my shamanic awakening, I think. You know, so my childhood years were a struggle. Growing up in a alcoholic home, alcoholic family, which only got more intense after the traumatic crash, understandably. You know, I lived a typical childhood. I started out being an Episcopalian, and as a child, I was always curious. You know, I would go to friends' churches and experience their religions, always searching for what really fit me. And today I found that, and it's a spirituality. It's not a religion for me. It's bigger. So I then I had a bout with cancer in my early 20s. I had a tumor on my liver that I had some significant surgery for, and I survived that. And then in 2008, I had breast cancer and survived that. And after that bout, I think that put me on a real path of knowing that I wanted more from a spiritual perspective. I started to realize what was important, and it's family. It's not the stuff in this world. It's not all the things that we think we need to have. It's love. That's the key for me.
Love, acceptance, understanding, and and the family. Family can be friends who understand us and cherish us.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So I started on just exploring all kinds of metaphysical, indigenous cultures. I went to Peru. I went to Costa Rica. I've studied with several shamans. I've explored the Native American culture. And what I've learned from these people is basic. It's an understanding that we're the children of the earth and the children of the spirit. We're all God's children, God, Buddha, Creator, Allah, whatever you want. It's a universal consciousness that we're all children of, all of us.
Absolutely.
And each one of us is equal.
And all of these
We're
different religions are saying the same thing in different languages. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And I want to ask if you'll tell a little bit more. You told me the story of, if it's not too painful, of what happened when, even in the plane crash, where your mom actually lifted you or handed you to somebody and said, "What did you tell? Would you mind telling that story? That was really, really touching."
Absolutely. Yep. So when the plane crashed, my mother was still alive. Yet she knew that I think her seatbelt, from what I've heard, because I was 18 months, so I've heard bits and pieces of this story from many people. Mm-hmm. What I heard and what I believe is her seatbelt actually melted from the heat of the flame.
Right.
Because there was jet fuel spilled all over the place. There was fire. You know, there were people dying, in the process of dying. One of the women on the plane actually had the engine of the plane land on top of her.
Oh my goodness! Now you said that the pilot just missed the runway by 600 feet or something like that. Is that?
Yep. The plane actually did almost like a somersault.
Oh wow!
Cartwheel, and broke apart, and people were strewn all over the place. People were. It was horrific. So anyway, my mom knew that she probably was not going to make it off of that plane, out of her seat. And I was sitting in her lap, and she screamed, "Take the baby, take the baby." And this man, John Shea, took me off the plane, sat me by a tree, and then he kind of went into shock. I'm I'm presuming,
Sure.
from his own injuries.
Sure.
And I wandered around the scene. My clothes were singed off completely. I was covered in pine needles. And a sergeant who's a father of a friend of mine, Diane Haley, her dad found me and
Wow.
took me to the hospital. Now, in the meantime of all this chaos, my grandparents were out there wondering if we were on the plane or not. They didn't know because
Wow.
the register, we came by standby, so our names weren't on the registry. So there's a picture in my book of my grandfather digging through the rubble, and my mom was an arm's length away.
Oh my gosh.
But he couldn't tell it was her because by that time she had been burned completely.
Wow. How tragic. And you said there
Yeah.
were 34 passengers, and you are one of the 10
10
survivors.
survived.
Yeah.
And I'm the only living survivor today because
Oh my
they were
gosh.
all, if you figure, they were all late 20s, 30s,
Sure.
and they've all, passed on. In writing the book, I was able to connect to one survivor, Paul Cozen,
Mm-hmm.
who it affected him tragically because he was coming to the island for a vacation with his best friend, and his best friend died right
Oh my
next
gosh.
to him. Yeah, so,
Such a
and
tragedy.
being a small island, they were not prepared for that at
No.
all.
No.
They were taking people out of the woods on planks in the back of station wagons. And the island was really impacted emotionally from this horrific thing.
Sure.
And they do what we do as a society. They pushed it away, pushed it out of the now,
Right.
and forgot about it.
Wow.
So when I wrote the book, it kicked up a lot for people,
Yes.
but it also helped a lot of people heal, which was amazing
Yeah.
to me.
Right.
Because I'm just doing it. I'm doing it for myself to
Yeah.
figure out who I am because I struggled with that.
Sure.
That's why I got into alcoholism myself, was just numb it out.
Mm-hmm.
Don't deal with it. Numb it out.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so anyway, I wrote the book. I launched the book, and people were coming out in droves to talk to me
Wow.
and just say, I remember. And then they built a memorial site, and these things wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
We talk about the little coincidences
Right.
and why things happen, and sometimes we don't even know what's going to come of this point now, just like in D.C., okay?
Yeah.
We know what happened, but
We
it
don't
won't
know
be until we reflect back maybe a year from now
Right.
to know what happened.
What really happened. Yes. So
Right.
are you at liberty to share the name of your book?
Yeah, it's Out of the Fog, Tragedy on Nantucket.
Wow. Wow. And you say it's out of print now, so people can try and find it. If you have a copy and you'd like to share it with someone, let us know, because I, for one, would love to read it. Wow.
Yeah.
So you...
Yeah, I've got an extra copy, and I'll let you read it.
Oh, that would be
You
cool.
shared your book, so I'll share mine.
Thank you. Yes, this is about sharing, and we have to be one with each other. And what a tragic story, and celebrating you for being the warrior to bring the story forward. And that's part of what we're here to do, is to share the stories. People have lost the art of storytelling, of telling the truth, of telling what really happened. Like you said, people just brush it under. They just, well, let's don't talk about it, and then maybe it'll go away. And yet what it does is
Especially if it's painful.
yeah, it festers inside. And that's where
Right.
it is painful. Wow.
Yep.
So tell me, thank you for sharing your story, and that this caused you to go on a huge journey of discovery, and you've gotten into the Native culture, and you and I share, I just have to say, we share a beloved friend, Grandmother Blue Crow. She was on my show last year. I'll have to have her back on. She is just an amazing, inspiring woman. So you ended up meeting Grandmother at some point.
Yes, and her and I, we went on a wonderful adventure together. I think my life has been always full of adventures.
It started that way, yes.
And I can't explain why or how, but it's my past, right?
Yes.
So when Standing Rock was going on, the pipeline protests, Auntie Crow and I filled up a car with blankets and overalls and anything that we thought they'd need, and we drove 2,000 miles in 1 week.
Holy cow.
We drove out to Standing Rock, spent the day there, and drove back. And we had clear weather. This was in December.
Mm-hmm.
Now, North Dakota is not a warm place in December. And
Right.
we were, like, oh, what's the weather going to be? And, of course, Auntie is like, the weather's going to be fine. Don't worry.
She does that. She has that determination. Yes.
And you know what? It
was.
It was.
I can
we
believe
had a
it.
wonderful trip. I didn't listen to the radio all of those miles. I listened to stories and wisdom
Oh my
from a
gosh.
great grandmother.
And she can tell a story and keep you riveted. And she has such wit. I say often that when I grow up, I want to be like her. She is one of my amazing, inspiring people.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yep,
she
calls
has,
me her daughter, so
Yes,
I'm proud of that.
Yeah. Good. I tell you what, if you had to pick a mother, that she would be the one, and I'll bet you she channels your mother on a regular basis.
Oh, she does.
Oh, I'll bet she does. So, what do you think of the Great Awakening that people are talking right now, and how can people awaken? What do you think is important?
Well, I think it's important for us to get away from labeling everything and each other and seeking the truth and not listening to, because I really believe that the news media has been programming us for a very long time, and they've programmed us to the point where they'll feed us a tidbit of information, and then they'll all repeat that information. Now, is it true? Is it not true? Who knows? But if it's repeated enough, it becomes true.
Right. Exactly.
So we need to dig deeper and see what resonates in our heart. And it's not about being right or wrong. It's about understanding more than anything.
Yes, and this is what the guides have said. Ask the questions. Do not take things for face value. Use your levels of discernment. Use your mind, your heart, your spirit to know truth. Seek truth.
Right.
They were
right.
emphatic
and,
about
that. Right. And in some instances, your belief system is going to be incorrect because it's based on all your experiences. And a lot of our experiences have come from that TV set.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. We were raised on the TV
Mm-hmm.
when you think about it.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, the greatest advice I could give to people for a great awakening is get away from the TV.
Mm-hmm.
Get away from the news media and start to investigate these things, which is going to take work.
Yes.
It's not a quick pill that you're going to get a great awakening. You're going to have to do the work for the great awakening.
Exactly. And the work
You're going to have to raise your vibration.
Right. Through meditation, through getting out into nature, and through connecting with other people who have been asking the questions. And most people on this, that I have found that are on this, what I call 5D, fifth dimension journey, are not going to tell you what to believe, because a great teacher will show you where to look, and then you investigate for yourself. And that's the key.
Absolutely. And the two great teachers I've had, which is Grandmother Blue Crow and Pierre Giraud, you know, in the work I've done with them, it's not always fun, pretty.
No.
You know, they've helped me to look deep within at the wounds that I carry, because those wounds create what I'm manifesting in my life. Does that make sense?
Yes, because if we focus on the wounds, we recreate what we're focused on. When we can go in, and it's appropriate to go in and heal those wounds, then you might have a scar, but the scar is just a reminder of where we've been. And yet, when we can move on, we grow new tissue, we grow new awakening, we grow new awareness, and then we can focus on where we're going.
Absolutely. And sometimes that work is tough work.
Yes, it is.
Tough stuff. And if you want someone else, a healer, to do that work for you, it's not going to happen.
Mm-mm. No. No.
No. And my great awakening through all where I am today is that there is nobody that is going to manifest Cindy's journey in this life except for Cindy.
Right.
I can't look at Donald Trump and say he's going to make things better, or this one, or that one, or this one. We, the people, are going to make things better. And if we, the people, like Aurora says, if we don't change, I fear for where we're going.
And you had asked me to play a song for you. Before we get into this next segment, I would like to offer a song. Can you share the name of the song that you asked to play, Cindy?
Sure. It's the Cherokee Morning Song, and the song is about the Great Spirit, that we are all of the Great Spirit.
Yes.
It's acknowledging that.
Absolutely. And in your journey, it's taken you into the shadow and risen above the shadow. And this is one of those beautiful songs that I'd like to share with the listeners right now. While she's helping it to play, it's deciding to be a little bit onerous. So tell us a little bit more about, okay, now she's got it, but getting out into nature, where magic, you said magic is what grounds us and connects us to all that is.
Absolutely.
So listen to this song. You ready? She's ready.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Pause on that. Okay, so you guys can find this song, the Cherokee. It's a beautiful song. When she finally, it was playing, but it's not coming through. So, this is part of our challenge right now, is this technology and things being blocked. So tell us about your recent adventure, and first, why you felt compelled to be there in D.C. Can you tell us a little bit more about what your mission, your passion was?
Well, initially, I saw that I'm a Trump supporter, and I believe in a lot of the work that Donald Trump has done. Like him, don't like him as a person, he has accomplished a lot, I believe. So he had asked us to come to D.C. on the 6th, and I said, like anything in my life, I go with what I feel in my gut, and I felt like I needed to be there. And I'm also a very passionate person about my beliefs. And the things that drive me are, I want a world that there's honesty and integrity. And I don't believe that this past election cycle has been that. We're told that everybody and their brother has certified that this vote was not fraudulent. My eyes, my internal system cannot align with that. What I see, what I've seen, what I've read, what I've looked at, the numbers, they don't add up for me. So I went to D.C. to mostly just to attend the rally, to see what he had to say, and that was my intention. And I wanted to be at something like that. I love the energy.
Yeah.
So.
And tell us about what it was like with all the people there, because you had to get on a bus and drive 10 hours, ride 10 hours,
right.
and
10 hours.
Yeah.
And, didn't sleep much for 2 days, and our bus. Interestingly enough, one of the most interesting things for me was that our bus was probably 80% Asian Americans. They were from China. They were from Vietnam. They were from all Asian countries, where their main passion was to educate Americans on the dangers of the CCP.
The Communist Party, yes.
Chinese Communist Party. Now, I've heard things about what's happening with the Chinese. There's a lot of connections with our legislators to the Chinese. I've heard Chinese are doing operations on the U.S. borders. They've bought land here in the U.S. They've bought land in the Bahamas. So, you know, I'm hearing little bits and pieces about this, and then it was just eye-opening to me how many of these people were there really trying to drive home how dangerous this is.
And this is what a lot of the American people are not realizing. They need to look beyond what's being fed, that there may well be another agenda. And we're called to ask the questions. Look for yourself what might be going on. Why is there such a passion to paint some of this movement in such a dark way when it could be that these are patriots? They call themselves patriots. That's what you call yourself. And you're trying to save our country from going down the path of communism. That's what I've heard as well. So you get there. Go ahead. I'm going to hurry you along because I want to make sure we've only got maybe 10 minutes left, and I want to make sure you have plenty of time. We've got 20 minutes.
Go.
Okay.
You lead.
No, that's good.
I can go off on a tangent.
I know. I want to make sure we cover what your experience was, because a lot of this is not being shared by the mainstream media. And I want to make sure that we capture what you experienced. So you are there. Tell us, walk us through. You're there. How many people are there?
I haven't heard an exact number yet, but I would say well over 1 million people.
Wow.
Well over.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel at any point that I was in danger. I felt safe. I felt a lot of patriotism, a lot of joy, a lot of, pride for our country.
And you're listening to the speeches, and all the people are there, and it just feels it's uplifting. Is that what I heard you say? Yes,
uplifting. It was very uplifting. It was very uplifting, although I think some people were wanting a little more, knowing some of the things that people are saying have been happening around us. People wanted more information about that than what Donald Trump was giving. But I think as I'm investigating and processing what happened that day, there was more things at play than just a bunch of people going to D.C. to listen to Donald Trump.
So you also saw you listened to his speech, and then what did you do after that? You decided that it was time to go, and you wanted you said you wanted to see the Capitol building, right?
Yeah, he had mentioned, that take our voice to the Capitol building, and that's the crowd just started dispersing, and there's this street that heads toward the Capitol building. It's is it Congress Street? You're leaving the Ellipse, and you're heading down the street, and the building's right in front of you.
Yeah.
So we're walking, and one of the things that happened right away that I didn't know at the time, because you don't know, with all those people, you don't know who's who, what they're there for. Even though it feels good, all of a sudden we're seeing these characters, like the guy with the horns that I think many people have seen.
Mm-hmm.
And they call him, the media is calling him the QAnon shaman.
Mm.
Well, this guy is not a QAnon shaman. He's not a Trump supporter. He's a paid actor,
mm-hmm.
and he's an Antifa member.
Mm-hmm.
And if you dig, you'll find that information.
So you got feelings about some of these people. So you actually got to the Capitol kind of before the main crowd, because I think you said you were going to go, you wanted to see the Capitol before you got on the bus to leave, right?
Right. So we get to the Capitol, and there's people there that are talking about going inside, taking a tour. There's all of a sudden on the upper level of the Capitol building, they're letting off these, they call them flashbangs, it sounds like World War II when they go off. They're just these big, huge, loud booms. And they're lighting them off every 5 minutes or so, shaking the ground. And that's getting people agitated. And then people start saying, okay, let's go closer to the building. You know, we want to get in. We want to have our voice heard. And things just escalated from there. There were people on the steps showing pictures that were really, they would incite you emotionally. Pictures of, if you've ever heard of things that Hillary Clinton has done, they were just awful pictures.
But you said that these people had alcohol, they were drinking, they were not your normal patriots. These guys had a different
they were
different
in
energy.
Different clothing, different energy, different clothing. And as we got up near the Capitol, they started breaking windows. And there's even videos of Trump supporters. They were trying to break one window, and this little Asian girl in a tutu yells, Antifa, Antifa, Antifa. And this big Trump guy, pulls the guy down to the ground. So they're doing this destruction. And then all of a sudden, the guards move the barriers and let all of them through. And of course, the Trump supporters follow. You know, the energy is going forward. When you have 1 million people behind you, you can't backtrack.
Right.
You've got to go with the flow or you're going to get stomped.
Right.
So anyway, they moved the barriers. Now, I was in the Capitol building, okay? I walked through the front door. I walked through as the guards opened the front doors to us. In there, I believe there were multiple things going on. I believe that Antifa was doing all of the destruction. They were breaking windows. There's a picture of a guy taking Nancy Pelosi's lectern, waving to people. They were bashing doors. They were doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So at that point, I said, okay, I don't want to be in here anymore. And I decided I was going to exit the building. I went up to a security guard. I said, I want to get out of here. And they pointed me down the hallway to get out of the building. So I went in the building unchallenged, and I exited the building unchallenged. I did not break anything. I was loud because that's who I am. We were saying chants like "Stop the Steal," "This is our house," because the people feel we have no course of justice anymore. There's nobody that wants to listen and hear our plea.
Right.
For integrity and honesty. With this election, why don't they want to audit it?
Exactly.
Why not?
There's so many questions that need to be asked, and the people's voices are being censored. Even more so now. Ever since after that, it became even worse with the censoring. So I thank you for coming forth and telling your story. And you were, you walked in with the auspices of going in for a tour. They opened the doors and let you in. And it was once you were in that these guys started breaking things. It wasn't like they broke the doors to get in. You were let in. And and then the breaking started from these guys that had alcohol and drinks and were dressed very weirdly and were in people's faces. They were not your normal Trump supporters. Is that correct?
That's correct. And the one thing I want to leave people with, because I know we'll be wrapping up soon, is this whole momentum that we're in right now is bigger than Donald Trump, bigger than left or right, bigger than black or white or yellow or brown or purple or pink. This is about good versus evil.
Absolutely.
And you have to wrap your mind around that. That's all I have to say.
And you said you could feel the negativity when you were there from these people. And you being a shaman,
felt like I was in a viper den.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
we were in the heart of Satan.
And I know that there are many people who are praying for our country and for the world. And that there are forces of good and evil, and it is very real. I know that from my world and from the experiences that I've had. And you were right there and saw. And the unfortunate thing is that this is also being painted so negatively by the media, without actually interviewing people like you who were there innocently. I mean, you were there with a passion to get your voice heard, and yet you and the others were not there to just do any destruction. Of course not.
No, I was there to have my voice heard, to stand for what I believe in, and that's it.
And that's, that's integrity. That's the meaning of integrity. That's what we all need to be doing, is standing for what we believe in our hearts and in our guts. Many are being so
what
silenced.
We've been done, what I believe has happened to us is we've been lulled to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
We wake up for a little bit, we pay attention, and then we go back to sleep because it's easier, it's softer, it's prettier.
Yeah.
And sometimes, we really have to stand for who we are. And I've gotten a tremendous amount of flack since I've gotten back. But you know what? I know in my heart who I am.
Exactly.
And that's all that counts. That's all that counts.
And I've seen that a lot.
I have to look in the mirror.
You're exactly right, Cindy. And I've seen that a lot, even just by the things that I post, positive inspiration and asking people to please look beneath the surface. And I've seen on Facebook people who are so nasty, people who are being attacked. This is this is what's being incited. And instead of listening to each other, listen to what Cindy has to say. People need to hear the other story without bias. So,
and that's what the natives teach us when we're in a talking circle.
Tell us about that.
That's why when we have a talking circle, which I have monthly at my home when the weather's nice.
Yes.
But we sit in a circle. Why do we sit in that circle? Because we're all equal.
Right.
One person has a talking stick, and that person can share, and the rest listen. That's what we need to get back to. Because how many times have you had a conversation with somebody, and you know they're not listening to what you have to say? We need to let somebody speak, and we may or may not agree, but we just need to listen.
Mm-hmm.
Listen. And then it's our turn.
Exactly.
And we get the talking stick.
Right. And sometimes that the message, because I've been to your talking circles, which is wonderful, and many others in my past, and that we need to go back to that way of life where we are honoring each other. Much as Gaia said, we've forgotten how to listen to each other and listen to her heartbeat, listen to all that she gives us,
and honor her for all that she gives us.
Absolutely. Yes. And honor each other. And that's what's missing right now. There is so much deception and confusion. It's like what is good has been painted as evil. What is evil is being portrayed as good. There's so much confusion. You don't know who to trust or which way to turn. Everything is upside down right now, and it's so confusing. And the only thing that I know to do is ask questions. Keep asking.
This is a war for our minds and our souls.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I know where I find my connection, and that is out in nature. When I get all confused and upside down, there's two people I talk to. That's my grandmother Crow and Pierre, and they help balance me, find that truth that I might have lost sight of.
Yeah.
And guide me to the things that are going to ground me again and bring my vibration up again.
Absolutely. It is about bringing the vibration up and holding that high-level vibration in spite of everything that's going on. And like you, I have trusted people that I reach out to that, oh my goodness, we are here for each other and we know it. And we bring each other up. We hold our energy high. And we must do that for and with each other right now more than ever. because we're being threatened to have our communication removed, and many people already have. So being able to connect on an etheric level, on a knowing level, heart to heart, is so key right now, so that we don't feel so isolated and alone and unheard. So we have groups of people that we can trust that will listen with integrity and honesty and honor.
Right. Absolutely. And don't forget the gratitude.
Oh, my goodness. Gratitude, yes, for all that we have. And that's what the people, the patriots, from what I see, are fighting for, is everything that we have, everything that people have fought for all of our lives. People are fighting to retain all the goodness that we have, this wonderful way of life that is unique.
Yes. And I'm on that second phase of life, I'm 64. There's years ahead, I hope. I have today, and I have to do the best that I can do today. Mm-hmm. And when I go forward with my heart, I'm not looking at what's in it for Cindy anymore. I'm looking at my little granddaughter, Valerie.
Absolutely. We must be making decisions right now for our future, for our children and our children's children. Absolutely.
You got it. You got it. I want the world to be a good world for her.
Mm-hmm. And it's based on the decisions we're making right now.
Right. Right now she can't go to school. Is that good? Mm-hmm. Is that really what needs to be happening right now? I'm not so sure.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But, yeah.
And I know that you have also... you have read the Chronicles, and I know you said that you reread the Aurora chapter in preparation for today's meeting. Would you have anything to share on the messages that the guides are sharing with humanity?
Yeah. Let me just pull your book open, because there's some very good things. Your book is excellent, by the way. If people haven't read it, you need to get a copy and you need to read it.
Thank you.
Yeah, this one it wraps it up. Humanity has a simple choice. They either learn to live together or they face extinction. That's powerful.
It's very powerful.
That's true.
And people don't realize that that's happening right now.
That's the point we're at. We're at the crossroads.
Yes, we are.
And we either make the right decision or we might not realize making that wrong decision to pass the trajectory we put ourselves on, but we will sooner or later, and I hope we don't go that path.
Well, there are so many sleeping people right now that are just unaware. And my heart goes out to them, because when they when they do wake up, when they are shown what is really going on, there are going to be a lot of people in shock. And we need to be...
It's like we're riding along this escalator, okay? And there's people on the escalator that are awake with us.
Mm-hmm,
and then there's people behind us that aren't awake.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's people that aren't even on the escalator, and they don't care to be. No one of those people is wrong. They're all where they need to be on their own journey.
You're exactly right. And Cindy, do you have any last thing to say as we wrap up today's show?
I just want to share that we just need to listen and love each other, and we'll get through this.
Thank you. Thank you, listeners, for being there. You've been listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman at WSMN 1590 AM and 95.3 FM, and you can find us at loisherman.com. Until next week, look up, stay positive, and be the light in someone's day. Thank you, Cindy, and thank you, listeners.
Thank you, Lois.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
USA Radio News with Lance Pry.
The unarmed Air Force veteran shot and killed by Capitol Police Wednesday is now under investigation. The U.S. Attorney for